Today we're reviewing Insidious, which we saw yesterday. Yesterday afternoon. We didn't go to a midnight show or anything like that. I'm of course joined today by DVDweasel from YouTube.
Hello.
And like I say, yesterday we went to see Insidious. This is the new film by James Wan. He's the guy who directed the original Saw movie, which was written by Leigh Whannell. They worked together, writer-director, all the time. So he did the first Saw film, which, despite how you feel about the sequels and the franchise as a whole, this is a good movie.
It's fantastic.
James Wan also went on to do a couple of films that nobody really saw. These kind of, I don't think they were straight to DVD releases, but they didn't get big theatrical runs either. There was the Kevin Bacon movie Death Sentence, the revenge film. This is one you haven't seen.
Yeah.
And he also did Dead Silence, which is the one that Insidious is going to be compared to. And I know you don't like this,
No.
but I have a lot of time for this movie, despite its massive gaps in logic. I think it's a fun horror film. Anyway, that brings us to Insidious. The plot basically follows a family who, the mother and father, played by Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, have what they think is a haunted house. So weird stuff starts happening, things move around on their own, they hear strange noises. One of their sons, for no reason, slips into a coma. There's no medical explanation for it, so they move. They move house, because if the house is haunted, you know, let's get the fuck out of there, which is what you do in real life. Only to discover and be told by a psychic later on that it's the son who is in fact haunted. Now, to divulge any more information than that would to spoil the film, basically.
Yeah.
So I won't go into any more detail, but yeah, it's in the same way that Paranormal Activity was about a demon tormenting the girl rather than haunting the house. It's the same thing here. Going in, we both like James Wan and Leigh Whannell, I think it's fair to say. And I really knew nothing about this movie in the sense that all I knew was it was a haunted house film, and it was produced by Oren Peli, the guy who did Paranormal Activity, the first one. So you've got the heads of two very big competing franchises, Saw and Paranormal Activity. They're actually locked in a feud at the moment because of a shared director who works on both franchises. Anyway, so they're coming together and giving us a haunted house film. And it's starring Patrick Wilson, who we all know and love from Watchmen and Hard Candy. And also, is it Rose Byrne, the actress?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's got two very accomplished actors heading up the film. Also got some kids in there as well. Obviously, we're not going to know the kids' names, but I would say all the kids do really well.
Yeah, they do.
It's not one of those films where the child actors get on your nerves. They do quite well in the movie. So going in, first impressions, like as the film was starting, we're treated to a credit sequence which I loved. I really did, and I know we haven't really had a chance to talk about this since we saw it, but the credit sequence is basically a series of shots which look like they're from almost like a 1950s horror movie, haunted house film, like House on Haunted Hill, something like that. Very classical feeling. How did you feel about that?
The opening credit sequence with all the names and stuff was really good, but when the title came on and the orchestra got really powerful and loud, and the title flashed and stuff, I thought that reminded me a lot of House of the Devil. Yeah. Because House of the Devil does pretty much the same thing with the strings rising to build tension and stuff, and that happens a lot throughout Insidious as well.
I would say that the score actually reminded me of like a Bernard Herrmann score, the guy who did Psycho. It's everything about this movie is classically feeling, but what I will say is this: once you get past the opening credits and you get into the film, the feel of it is very kind of different from what the opening credits promise. All of a sudden is a very intimate kind of family drama, shot handheld. And it's not like zoomed in close-ups, but you can tell that the guy with the camera is sat amongst the actors, you know, filming them. Yeah. And it's like I said to you, it feels like Lars von Trier directed Paranormal Activity. Yeah. It's because you said it's like a scary version of Dancer in the Dark.
It is kind of, because of the Dancer in the Dark's filled with really close-up shots of all the actors, and it builds more emotion to it with loads of close-ups and handheld, and it feels really intimate. And I got the same feeling with this, and I really believed in the characters more because of not only because of the performances, but the way it was shot, and how it was so close up and so into their lives, and the script was really good as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say the first half of the script is the strongest point, and I've heard people complain. Well, not so much complain, but make the point that they found that the first half didn't work for them in that it was too slow. Like they wanted to launch straight into the horror. But to be honest, I really commend the film for taking its time to build up, tension and build the characters, because ultimately, once everything kicks off halfway through, you want to care about the characters. You want to care about whether or not they survive. The first half, like we said, is like Lars von Trier directing Paranormal Activity. It's a very slow build-up, very intimately done, very well written, almost like a character drama. You forget you're watching a horror film.
Yeah.
Like, I get used to... go on.
Oh, that's to me what makes the scares even more effective, because you forget you're watching a horror film. Like you said, you think you're watching a character drama, and then when it's scary, you really fucking believe it, because it's these characters that you believe in.
Exactly.
And you believe that this bad stuff could happen to them, especially in the first half, anyway.
And once it, like I said, once it starts kicking off, you care about them, so the scares do hit home, and that's what I like about this movie. Even though a lot of the scares are boo scares, they work and they stay with you because James Wan earns them. Like in a scene that will culminate in a boo scare, he will have a 5-10 minute conversation between two characters before the boo scare. So it's like it lulls you not only into a false sense of security, but you just don't think anything's going to happen, and then something will. But he doesn't present it as a cheap boo scare either. It lingers, and that's what I like about it. He manages to just kind of linger on the scare just long enough for it to resonate after you've left the film, because I found myself thinking about this movie last night.
Yeah.
My dressing gown fell off my bedroom door and I shit myself. It stayed with me, and it's not many horror movies that do that, especially ones that just rely on making you jump. But I thought that this really did manage to mix making you jump with genuinely unnerving you. And that's going to bring us on to the second half of the film. Now, this is where it doesn't reach its potential. This is where it fucks up almost. Yeah. And well, I say that, but
I still really liked it, and I know you said last night that you did as well. But it doesn't. The two halves don't blend together very well. They're completely different.
They are, and it's so jarring as well. And you can pinpoint the moment where it shifts.
Yeah.
And it's almost like if Lars von Trier directing Paranormal Activity was the first half, the second half, it's like I said to you, it's definitely Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell with a Straight Face. It's so much different in style. All of a sudden, the cameras whipping around, gliding through the house. There's stuff being thrown about. It's filmed more like kind of a tongue-in-cheek comic booky action film almost. Yeah. It's still scary, don't get me wrong, it's still unnerving and still makes you jump, but it's so it really is so different that you would watch the second half and not even think that it was related to the first half in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, I honestly thought this film was terrifying. I shit my biscuits, I honestly did. It was horrible.
You screamed a couple of...
I did.
You actually screamed. What was really funny was when we were watching this with my mate Danny, who's appeared in a couple of my videos, his girlfriend and my sister. And you were sat between me and Danny, weren't you? And on Danny's other side was Becca, his girlfriend. And Danny... He's an MMA cage fighter, right? Yeah. Just to throw that out there, he's. I
bet he'll love this story being.
Yeah, no, but what really made me laugh, and I looked over at him when he did this. There was a scary bit on the screen, and he grabbed hold of Becca like this, and then on the other side, he grabbed hold of you and just went and it's like if it could make him do that. I screamed as I'm not just taking the piss out of him. I screamed. There were a couple of moments where I was like, it scared the shit out of me. There was one guy at the back of the cinema. Now, bearing in mind, we're in pitch darkness, so we can't see him. But there was somebody sat at the back of the cinema screaming like I've never heard.
Pure terror.
And it didn't sound like he was putting it on, did it? It sounded like he was genuinely terrified. Like when a ghost would pop up on screen, he'd be like, "Oh my God, no!" And I couldn't believe, people crying. Somebody killed themselves at the back. It was insane. This is the perfect film to go see with a big audience. Like, if you go see this with a big audience, you will have a lot of fun with it.
Fun might not be the operative word. Again, there's just the right amount of comedy in it as well.
Yeah, well, Lee Winnell himself, the writer, he's in it as like a paranormal investigator. But those ghost hunters, shitty programs that you see, like Most Haunted and stuff. And the interplay between him and another character it's comedic, but it's not trying too hard to be comedic. It just makes you kind of sit back and with a sigh of relief, and then it'll shit you up again.
Yeah.
And I think it's done really well, that aspect of it, because that could have, as soon as they walked in into the scene, I thought, if it's going to fuck up, it'll be now.
Yeah.
But it didn't, luckily. And it's just such a good film, you know?
It is really good. When I saw the trailer, I thought it could go either of two ways. It could be really cheap and shit, or it could be actually terrifying. And I'm glad to say it was terrifying, and it worked. I'll be thinking about one particular bit.
I think I know which bit you're referring to. But I will say, it scared the shit out of me. You know, it did. I started crying, and I'm not afraid to admit that, because when a horror movie does its job and it actually scares you, you want to praise it for that, because it's not many horror films can do that anymore. What I will say is, I didn't find it as frightening as Paranormal Activity.
I did.
That Paranormal Activity scared me more than I've ever been scared in my life.
It scared me more than I'd ever been scared in my life until now. I was when I saw Paranormal Activity, as Jack did, I was walking out the cinema shaking. There was a point in this film where I was actually sat, rocking backwards and forwards, and breathing really heavily. It was, oh my god, I can't even say.
Yeah, because I had to turn to her, I was like, but mate, are you alright? Like, obviously whispering because of the films, I'm like, are you alright? I thought you were having contractions, it was horrible.
I thought I was as well, to be honest. I thought I was going to give birth. It was horrifying.
I've never seen anything like it. And when you oh god, you screaming, Jesus. But then again, I screamed.
Yeah, you
We
did.
all screamed for ice cream.
Yeah.
But yeah, Insidious, it's a great horror movie. It really is. It just falls short of being, I want to say, a masterpiece, because in terms of horror, a film that can scare you as much as this one does and be as much fun at the same time, the few and far between. It doesn't reach that status because the two halves are so drastically different and they don't gel together. What it's got going for it, though, is very kind of classical direction by James Wan.
Yeah.
And the set design is beautiful as well. Now, in a lesser director's hands, it could look like a cheap DVD movie. But the way he lights it and using dry ice, and it's got that old-fashioned haunted house feel to it.
That thing as well, like, I've just thought of something, that, like, the way it's shot with the overtones of blue and grey and stuff, and it's really dark, and it's hardly lit completely in any point of the film, really. And I think that adds to more the realism of it, because it makes you feel like it's either in a dream or you've just woken up.
Yeah, well, I got that
like
feeling
that.
like you'd just woken up,
Yeah.
and you're kind of disorientated. And they do a lot of the darker scenes are lit completely by flashlights being held by the actors. So there's no background light whatsoever that you tend to get in Hollywood movies. There's no illumination other than what the characters can do. And at that point, and what I really like about this is, you don't need anything to jump out, because it's scary enough. And James Wan does occasionally pull punches, in that there are moments where he could quite easily have something jump out and scare you, but he chooses not to, and lets your imagination do the work. And that's what I mean when I said earlier that he manages to combine the two different styles of being unnerving and staying with you and also jumping out at you. He manages to use both, and that's why the film will stay with you afterwards.
Yeah.
And also the demon itself, which you get a glimpse of in the trailer. I quite like the design of the demon, although
He does look a bit Darth Maul.
Yeah, he looks a lot like Darth Maul, but then again, would you fuck with Darth Maul?
Probably not, but
There you go.
I'm sure if I saw Darth Maul behind someone's head at a dinner table or something, I would shit myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's also like a very cheeky reference to A Nightmare on Elm Street as well. And there's no two ways about it. That was a big tip of the hat to Nightmare on Elm Street. But yeah, the film itself, go with a group of friends, go on a busy night with a lot of people around you. It's one of the greatest experiences I've had recently in the cinema.
Yeah.
People screaming, crying, laughing. That's what you go to the theatre for. That's why you go to the cinema. To have an experience like that with a group of like-minded people. Obviously, you get the occasional idiot who wants to try the best to ruin the experience, but that's another topic for a different video.
Yeah.
So, Insidious, it just falls short of greatness. However, James Wan, this is going to propel him into the mainstream. Because Saw got him noticed, then he got trapped in the franchise. He did 2 films which I think are really quite good.
I'm gonna have to pick up Death Sentence and watch it.
You will. You'll like it. I like both of these movies. But this one is going to break him into Hollywood. And I'm glad. I think he's a good enough director and he should get a lot more work. So Insidious, go see it because it will scare the life out of you. And Liam, do you have any closing thoughts?
Be prepared, although I don't think you could be. Because
If anybody's had any particularly noteworthy experiences watching this movie, tell us about them in the comments below, because I'd like to know. But yeah, I hope that guy was alright, the one we heard screaming.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I know.
He was terrible.
He scared me more than the film did. he really did. Like the film was scaring me, and then I just heard him, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's really effective."
It is. I can't. I'm gonna go see it again next weekend. You know.
Yeah,
definitely. Right. Yeah. So go check out Insidious. It's a. Oh, that's another thing as well. It's an original horror movie. It's not a remake or a reboot or a sequel or
and it's not
adaptation of a Japanese manga or something that somebody saw on somebody's tattoo once who wanted to make. You know, it's original. Lee Whannell's written it. I like Lee Whannell for that. He's good. You know, they've brought a really good horror film in, and yeah, you know, it's better than Scream 4, which is I thought it would have been the other way around.
I haven't seen Scream 4 yet,
but yeah, Insidious. Go support new horror.